Lexus makes a ton of SUVs. You got hybrids, you got gas, you got off-road. They start under $40,000 and they can go all the way up to nearly 150 grand. But these four behind me are the bread and butter. Now, some of them share the same engine and they look kind of similar. I mean, if you squint. But what belongs in your driveway really depends on your use case and your priorities. Is it worth spending more money to get that nicer model? Not always.
We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us.
Think of the Lexus NX as a luxury version of the Toyota RAV4. You've got space for four with a little bit of cargo, but it's small enough that it's easy to drive and park. Plus, this one starts at under $50,000. Of course, what you pay is going to depend on dealers in your area, but we've got all kinds of tools on the site to let you know what you should pay. We've got links to all of the vehicles down below, or you can just hit that QR code. Now, just because the NX is the smallest and the cheapest doesn't mean that it's the worst SUV here. You get a lot of Lexus DNA in here. For some shoppers, this might just be the sweet spot. You guys, it's a touchscreen. Now, that might not seem like a very big deal, but trust me, if you're coming from an older Lexus, this is huge. Now, you've got a really good layout in here. It's the same as what you're gonna see on the other SUVs that we've got today. So standard, you get a pretty decent sized screen, but you can upgrade to the larger 14-inch screen as part of a $1,200 package. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, of course. I mean, what new car doesn't have that these days? But here's something that's kind of cool. The NX is the only one where you can get a USB-C and a USB-A. Yeah, that's right, old school, man. That means I can charge my jitterbug phone with my really old USB-A cord. Now, when you're not doing the smartphone mirroring, the technology that you've got in here is the same as what's in the more expensive SUVs. And I love that we've got some big buttons here, so it's really easy to use while you're driving. Our only complaint is that they don't really utilize the real estate very well. Like, there's a lot of unused space here that could be used for more information. And you're gonna be using this screen a lot. Now, I do have physical controls for things like my temperature and my volume and some of my drive modes, but things like heated and ventilated seats and defrosting, all of that is here on the screen. Now, the good news is that that part of the screen is static. It never goes away. So it really is kind of a good compromise between both worlds. The NX doesn't get a fully customizable digital gauge cluster like you do in the other ones, but you can select some different information to display, which is really nice. But if you get the NX with the head-up display, which allows you to kind of project like your navigation, your speed right in your eye line, you also get these touchscreen buttons here, and they're dual function. So you have to like look to see what the buttons are actually controlling at that very moment, and it's really, really awkward. Y'all, I really like the seats here in the NX. I mean, they are supportive enough so that you're gonna stay in your seat while you're driving on curvy roads, but they're still soft and comfy enough that it's not too much of a pain in the butt on those longer drives. Plus, they're really versatile. I mean, all body types should feel pretty comfortable in here. And heated seats are standard, and you get ventilated seats on everything except for the base model. Pretty cool, huh? Now, this trim gets these fake leather seats, and it feels okay, but if you want the real stuff, you're gonna have to upgrade it to the luxury trim. And the storage in here is fine. I mean, it's fine. I've got a little slot here for my phone. The cup holders are pretty big. There's a good amount of space here in the center console, but what I really love is this little pocket here by the door handle. It's perfect for a wallet. I do wish the door pockets themselves could be a little bit bigger, but small car, I'll give it a pass. Ooh, they recline. There's a decent amount of space back here. I mean, I'm 5'9", I'm sitting behind my driving position, and I got a ton of room. The only thing that you need to worry about, though, is that this is a pretty narrow SUV, so sitting 3 across, that's gonna be a tight squeeze. Folks back here get their own charge ports plus a 12-volt, and you also get your own air vents, but you can't control the temperature. I know, gotta rely on those folks up there. When it comes to car seats, you've got anchors on either side and you've got tethers on all 3 seat backs. Getting a car seat in might be a little bit difficult. The doors open wide enough, but the door opening itself is kind of small and the roof is a little slopey. Y'all, for a small SUV, there is a lot of cargo space back here. The only problem is that it's cargo space that is wide and deep, but not necessarily tall. However, I do have some tie downs back here. I enjoy that a lot, and I can tow about 2,000 pounds. Yeah, I know it's not a lot because it's a small SUV, but it's enough for a bike rack. So just put your bike rack on and go have a good time. When it comes to driving the NX, you have options, 3 of them to be exact. You have a gas engine, you have a hybrid engine that is less powerful but very efficient, 40 miles per gallon, and you can also get a plug-in hybrid. Now that offers more power and 35 miles of all-electric range, but once that range is down and it's acting like a regular hybrid, it's actually less efficient than the regular hybrid. And you guys, we recommend the standard hybrid, okay? You've got more than enough power for passing and merging, plus you get that excellent 40 mile per gallon efficiency. The plug-in hybrid's fun, but you need the trifecta. You need to be able to have a place at home where you can charge it. You need to have a shorter than average commute and only occasional long drives. The suspension here is pretty great. I mean, it soaks up bumps big and small without feeling like soft or floaty, and the steering gives you a decent amount of feedback, and it's not too heavy, which we really appreciate. It just feels really stable in the turns. Plus, this vehicle is appropriately quiet for a luxury car. Now, the NX gets all of the same driver's aids that you get in the other 3 vehicles in our video today, so listen up because I'm only going to talk about these things once. So standard across the board are all the big hits, right? Adaptive cruise control with lane centering, traffic sign recognition, blind spot monitoring, all that good stuff. Except a 360-degree camera isn't standard, and that is kind of a bummer. Now, on the whole, these aids work really well, but the adaptive cruise control is kind of conservative. Like when you're on the highway and the person in front of you moves over and there's room to pass, it will wait for that guy to move all the way over before it even thinks about accelerating. And like, humans just don't drive like that. The only fly in the ointment here are the brakes. Now, when you're just driving around town, like, it's fine. They feel fine. They do their job. But remember, we have a test track, which means we can do a lot of panic stops where you have to slam on the brakes because you need to stop really, really quickly. And the NX took the longest distance to stop than any other small luxury SUV. And while it did it, it was not stable at all. It was like going all over from the left to the right, and the ABS just felt really, really jerky. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's really the only bad spot in an otherwise very well driving vehicle. So the NX, it is just big enough for a lot of people, and you get much of the same kit that you do in the more expensive Lexus SUVs. But what if you want just a little bit more? Now, the RX is one step up from the NX, and this is a very important SUV for Lexus. It's the first one it ever offered, and it is still a best seller. You can think of it as the comfy and spacious SUV that is not too big. It starts at just over $50,000, which is about $6,000 over the NX. Lexus makes bigger SUVs, it makes more powerful SUVs, it makes more expensive SUVs, but for a lot of people, the RX might just be the sweet spot. Man, this leather and this wood, this feels way nicer than any other NX. This RX Luxury has got a lot of open pore wood and really nice quality leather that you just don't get in the cheaper Lexus SUVs. But what I really like is this like embossed pattern here on these leather seats. I think it looks really cool. But here's the thing, there's a lot of stuff that you would have to pay extra for in the NX that come standard on a lot of the RX trims. So things like a heated steering wheel, the wireless charging, the bigger screen, or the leather seats with memory. So what that means is that you don't have to pay for an upper high trim to get all the good stuff. The RX also has got a digital gauge cluster, but it's bigger than what you find in the NX, so I've got more information. I've got my own speedometer and information about the battery. But really what we're talking about here is space. Because the RX is wider than the NX, there's just more breathing room in this vehicle. I really love how much more spacious this car feels. These seats here are well cushioned and pretty supportive, although they don't hug you as much as the NX, but they're still really comfy for long trips. But other than that, things up here are pretty familiar. I mean, I've got the same screen running the same software, cup holders are the same. I even have the same finicky buttons here if you get an RX with the head-up display. By and large, this interior is comfy, it's well finished, and it's easy to use. Now, these rear doors open just a little bit wider, so it's a lot easier to get in and out, and there's more space back here this way, so it's easier to fit in a rear-facing car seat. Plus, all of the room this way means that you can fit 3 across, no problem, and the drive hump doesn't really interfere with your footroom, only about this much. Headroom here is also pretty good as well, so look, I'm liking this back seat. But here's an advantage. Rear seat passengers get their own USB ports and air conditioning vents, and you can control the temperature. You don't have to rely on the people in front, and the rear seats are heated and cooled. So as big as the cargo space in the NX looks, this one has got about 30% more space, at least on paper. But what I love is it's got a few little extra touches. Yep, it's got some cargo tie downs, but it also has a standard household outlet, which is rad for when you're tailgating and you need to plug in your blender. Am I right? Now you can tow about 3,500 pounds with this. Not a lot, but still, if you got a jet ski or maybe a little teardrop trailer, you're gonna be fine. You can get even more engine options here in the RX. You can get a regular gas, you can get a regular hybrid, you can get an even more powerful hybrid in the F-Sport Performance model, and you can get a plug-in hybrid. Now, as usual, we are going to recommend that you stick with the standard hybrid, and that's because you just get better fuel economy, and it's plenty powerful enough. You're going to get 36 miles per gallon compared to the 24 or 25 than you get with the gas. Now, the more powerful performance hybrid, like, yeah, you guys, it's a lot of fun, I'm not going to lie, but that car is right around like $70,000, and that is a bridge too far. And the plug-in hybrid really only makes sense if you've got a place to charge it and you want the ability to drive it like an EV, but also have a gas engine backup for longer road trips.
Overall road noise and ride quality are pretty much on a par with the NX, and I like that you get the same driver's aids as well.
When it comes to the brakes, I'm still not very impressive for this segment, but at least you don't get that kind of panic-inducing stops like we had with the NX. So the RX is basically the NX, just better, right? I mean, there's more space, better materials, a smoother drive. If you can afford the upgrade, it is more than worth it. But the next car we're gonna look at, well, it might be bigger, but it's not necessarily better. This is the big mama jamma. That's right, this is the Lexus TX with 3 rows of seats and more space than any other Lexus SUV. This guy starts at right around $60,000. So if you think of the NX as like the luxury cousin of the Toyota RAV4, the TX is the luxury cousin of the Toyota Grand Highlander. Now, if you want the grace of a Lexus with nearly the same amount of space and seating as what's in a minivan, then the TX is for you. We just kind of have a hard time recommending it. It's mostly the same here, but ta-da! So the interior here in the TX is more of the same, except you get more storage. So I've got this little double-doored center console, and it's actually really deep. I've got a nice big space here in front of the shifter, 2 big cup holders, and that bonus hidden storage under the wireless charger. The door pockets here are really big as well. Now, in terms of tech, the larger screen comes standard, and in the TX, you get an extra USB port. Now I've got a ton of space up here, right? This is the biggest of the 3, so that's not really a surprise. So if you have a fight with your drive partner, don't worry, you've got enough separation. These seats are also really comfortable. They're a little bit flatter than what we've seen in the other SUVs, but I do love this little suede insert here because it's so soft. The rest is what we've come to expect, right? I mean, I've got intuitive tech, really easy controls. I mean, except for these dumb little pads here on the steering wheel. I've got plenty of comfort. The materials are all great, top-notch, good stuff in here. Now, this is why you buy a TX. These rear doors open super wide, and there is a ton of room back here. There is more head and shoulder room than in either the NX or the RX. And if there's no one in the third seat, you can just slide on back and stretch it out. Now you can get a bench seat back here, but why would you do that? Just get the captain's chairs. They're so much better. Plus, rear seat, you got your own temperature controls. All right, the third row. I mean, it's pretty easy to get into, and it's just a button up here, so even a kid can do it by themselves. I'm a little short on headroom, but I've got plenty of legroom, and there's a lot of windows back here, so I don't feel claustrophobic. So with all of the room in the second and third rows, if you've got 4 kids in 4 car seats, I mean, first of all, more power to you, but you could make it work here in the TX. So basically, if you got a road trip and you got to take more than 4 people, this is the one for you. All right, I know it doesn't seem like it, but the amount of space behind the third row of the TX is almost as much as the amount of space you get behind the second row in the NX. I know, it's crazy. And then when you fold down the third row, you get even more. Now the second row seats are mechanical folding only, but once those are flat as well, you guys, we're talking like suburban minivan levels of cargo. There's no other SUV that comes close to it. And I can tow about 5,000 pounds. So there's one thing that you need to know about the TX, and that is that the hybrid situation is really complicated. So with the other vehicles, you can get a standard hybrid for about the same price as the gas engine. Not so in this one. The only hybrid that you can get is the performance hybrid, and get this, it is $15,000 over a base TX with the gas engine. $15,000! And you only get 4 miles per gallon more. Like, why? Why would you do that? I mean, yeah, the extra power is nice, I guess. And if you're already shopping in those upper trims, I mean, I guess go for it. But man, we just think that you should stick to the gas engine. And that's really unfortunate because the gas engine is the same as what's in the RX and the NX. It's just that now it has to motivate a lot more weight. So as a result, it just feels really sluggish, and you really got to put your foot into it to do anything. Now, we do have the high performance hybrid motor, and you guys, the suspension on this is tuned to be really, really stiff. Like, I can feel every single little like pebble and paint line that I go over. And the steering is tuned to be a little bit heavier. Now, I personally like that, but I can understand why some folks that might not be their jam. Now, again, though, we're in a luxury vehicle. It is pretty quiet until I put my foot in it, and then I got a lot of engine noise. And wind noise. You hear that? Yeah, that's some wind noise. So aside from the stiff ride quality, we just really wish that the hybrid were not quite as expensive, because that kind of money for only a net gain of 4 miles per gallon in efficiency seems like a bridge too far. But our biggest beef with the TX, it just doesn't seem like it's enough of a jump up from its Toyota counterpart like the NX does. I mean, everything that we like about this TX, we also like about the Toyota Grand Highlander, and that is so much less expensive. But the GX, y'all, that is another story. Now, while the NX, RX, and TX are all like nesting dolls of the same vehicle, the GX is a completely different animal. So this thing is a boxy, truck-like off-roader. So think of it like Lexus's take on the Toyota Land Cruiser or the Ford Bronco. It starts at right around $70,000, and while you can get it with the third row, we don't really recommend that. We've had a GX as part of our 1-year road test fleet, and you guys, we all really, really liked it. But having said that, it's not for everyone. And this interior, it isn't just more of the same. I mean, yeah, okay, there are some things that are similar, like this screen and the software that runs it, but y'all, look at this whole center console. It is way different. I've got a little space here for my phone. My cup holders are behind this little door. And I've got like a little door just for a 12 volt here. The shifter is different. The door pockets are bigger. They can hold a big water bottle. And I've even got some buttons down here that are really different, but we're gonna talk about those when we get to driving. And the seating position in this vehicle is much higher. I mean, I can see all the way over the hood. I've got a much more commanding presence. And these seats are pretty comfortable. They're a little bit flatter, and they're not quite as like supple as what we're finding in the other Lexi, but they're still really good. You guys, for how big the GX is and for how big it feels, second row space is actually pretty limited. I mean, I've got plenty of headroom, but legroom is really at a premium, and these doors do not open very wide. So good luck getting a car seat in and out. It's gonna be a little troublesome. Now, I do have access to my own USB ports and air vents, but I can't control the temperature from back here. Now, about that third row. So this is the Overtrail model. This is the off-roady one, and that only has room for 5. There's no third row. But you guys, even if we had a third row, it's not very good. It's only good in a pinch. The seats are really stiff and they're upright. There's hardly any legroom. It's good for kids or your worst enemies, and that is it. Basically, if you've got enough people that you're putting them in the third row more than a few times a year, you should just get the TX. Now, the GX cargo space is a little bit different because this is an off-road, outdoorsy kind of vehicle. And I love that this window opens because then I can just reach in and grab whatever gear that I need. But when you do open up the back, I've got more space than what's going on in the TX. Plus, I've got some really cool goodies like a standard 400-watt outlet and an air compressor. So when you're out on the trail, you air down your tires so that you get a little bit more traction, and then you can air them up very easily before you go out on the pavement. The GX can tow up to 9,000 pounds. So if you've got a bigger trailer, the GX is the one to get. love driving this thing. I mean, yeah, there's only one engine option, but the other ones, those are all 4 cylinders. This one is a twin turbo V6, and it's just so smooth, and the acceleration is so confident. I love it. Where the TX just feels like it's struggling all the time, the GX, everything is just so easy. And this is a proper 4-wheel drive system as well. I mean, I've got full-time 4-wheel drive, I've got a low range, a rear locker, the tires, the clearance, it's all here. The GX can go pretty much anywhere it wants to. So if you need to tackle something that's any harder than like the gravel road up to your lake house, trust me, you're gonna want the GX. And you know what? It's pretty quiet. I mean, even with its boxy shape and the all-terrain tires, and you get all the same driver's aids as you do with the other SUVs. But it's not all puppy dogs and rainbows, because the GX gets the worst fuel economy of our 4 vehicles today. I'm talking 17 miles per gallon according to the EPA. Whew, that's not so good. You gotta remember, this thing is a truck. So while it's pretty smooth and it's pretty like stable and confident, that's for a truck. So you're still gonna get a lot of those like body on frame vibrations coming up into the cabin through the suspension. Now, when we had this vehicle for a year, the people who loved that kind of ride quality loved it, and the people that hated it, hated it. The GX isn't for everyone, but if it's for you, you are gonna love it. Now, before we move on to the rest of the video, if you've got any questions or if there's maybe a car that you want us to review, let me know in the comments. And be sure to like and subscribe. Remember, that helps the algorithm deliver this video to other people who are looking for a new car just like you. So don't do it for us, do it for them. So what did we learn? Well, the NX is efficient, that's really easy to drive, and it provides that Lexus experience of intuitive and unpretentious luxury at a really good price point. Yeah, it might be a little bit cramped for people and things, but if you don't need a lot of space, this one might be for you. It's just that, well, it's not very competitive. I mean, you've got other small SUVs out there that they drive better, they've got better tech, they've got better interiors and more space. In fact, we gave this a 6.8 out of 10, and that puts it in 6th place out of 10 small luxury SUVs in our rankings. And remember, we've got all of the rankings plus rating and reviews of all of the competitors on our website, so just click that link right there below the like button. Oh, we update them all the time too. But it's actually this one, the RX, that really hits a sweet spot when it comes to size, price, and comfort. You get a little bit more space, you get a little better driving experience, and some more features that really make it feel like a meaningful step up from the NX. Yeah, it can be a little slow, especially with this standard hybrid, but people really love this vehicle. We can see why this is a top seller. There are other midsize SUVs that have more cargo room, a little bit better interior space, better engine, but this one, we give it a 7.1 out of 10, and that's a really good rating. It's actually tied for 3rd out of 15 midsize luxury SUVs. Now, the TX. Sure, it's got some strengths. Mainly, it's got a lot of room for people and things and some great small item storage, but it's just really hard to recommend this vehicle. I mean, the hybrid powertrain is too expensive and the base engine is really underwhelming. At the end of the day, it's tough for us to find reasons to recommend spending the extra cash for this over Toyota Grand Highlander. Now, listen, if you want a Lexus and it's got to have 3 rows, you need a lot of space, then like, sure, go ahead, have at it.
But we give this vehicle a 7.2 out of 10, which puts it in 3rd place with other vehicles in its class.
And then there is the GX. I mean, yeah, the efficiency is terrible and the rear seat isn't as big as it feels like it should be, but if you want style, off-road capability, towing capability, and that trucky feeling like you rule the road, I mean, the GX just can't be beaten. We give it a 7.3 out of 10, and that puts it at the top of its class. Now, like I said, which Lexus SUV you pick really depends on what you need it to do and what you prioritize. Now, me, I'm an off-road gal, so I'm taking the GX home with me tonight. But I want to know, which one would you choose? Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you next time.